Starting off this countdown, we have the cup of ramen noodles. Ever wanted to know what your ramen noodles look like before hot water and delicious seasoning is poured on top of it? Well, now you can. And now, how many of you feel like this is a scam? I thought the whole damn bottom half of the cup was filled, not just a portion of the cup. This literally should be illegal. That and only filling up chip bags halfway. Like, what's up with that? Seriously, I get that ramen is cheap and all, but at least give us poor people more noodles than that. Doubt companies are gonna be too thrilled now that we have learned about this. We're on to you.
At number 9 now, we have the Game of Thrones leaks. Game of Thrones is the most watched TV show at the moment. I'm sure many of you guys are fans. Every time a new season starts, we've had to wait patiently each week for the latest installment, but that all changed in season 7 when episodes just started being leaked early. HBO uploaded an episode to their Spanish and Nordic sites, and before they could take it down, people had downloaded it for everyone to see. Other times, hackers brute forced their way into the HBO database and ripped the episode from there. This obviously annoyed HBO, but also their paying customers. Many fans are angry and asking why should they pay to see the show if it's just going to get leaked before release anyway. Coming in at number 8 now, we have Guantanamo Bay. This military prison was opened in 2002 to detain suspected terrorists. However, over the years, shocking pictures and videos began to be released that showed serious abuse of the inmates was taking place. Many of them were being imprisoned indefinitely without trial and not protected under the Geneva Convention of Human Rights. As videos and pictures were released, the American government was quick to try and remove them from the media. Many of the videos are just too graphic to show here on YouTube, but they are still out there online. At the time of recording, Guantanamo Bay is still open. Next up at number 7, we have Jennifer Lawrence. In 2017, a video of Jennifer Lawrence pole dancing at her friend's birthday party in Vienna was leaked online. Although she never intended anyone outside of that room to see it, Jennifer quite rightly said that she was just having fun and felt no need to apologize. For her, there was a big distinction to be made between a video of her just having fun at her friend's birthday party and the 2014 leak of private and revealing pictures that were taken from her iCloud account. Okay, moving on to number 6 now, we have foster farms. In 2015, a video got released that showed serious animal abuse at foster farms in California. Animal abuse on farms is not really a new thing, sadly, but this video was very in-depth, and the farms also had the seal of the American Humane Association behind them. It showed them beating and punching the chickens. Some were also not killed properly and scalded to death in hot water. Chicks were being thrown on the ground, killing and crushing them. Foster farms didn't want the world to see this video, and it caused great embarrassment to the American Humane Association for their link to such inhumanity. Next up at number 5 now, we have the Trump leak. A lot of you guys might remember that during the 2016 presidential election, there was a scandal revolving around a 2005 video of Donald Trump. He was doing an interview for Access Hollywood, but was already mic'd up when he was still in the production trailer. The video captures his comments about making a move on a married woman, and also saying what many people think were lewd and sexist comments about the woman in question. The video took 11 years to surface, but when it finally did, it was all over the news for weeks. Donald Trump said that he regretted saying the things he did, and that the words did not reflect who he is. Next up at number 4, we have North Korea starvation. The North Korean government has always liked to put out an image to the rest of the world that its people are happy, healthy, and their military is very strong. In 2015, a video leaked online from North Korea showing just the opposite of that. It captured North Korean soldiers who showed clear signs of starvation and serious malnutrition. The uploader said they were being transferred to a hospital for treatment. At one point in the video, a soldier is doubled over from hunger pains, and an officer comes in and gives him a nice kick for it. Not the image the government is wanting to project. Okay, at number 3 now, we have the Kim Kardashian sex tape. A lot of you guys might have wondered at some point in your life, why exactly are the Kardashians famous? Well, it's all thanks in part to a 2003 sex tape she made with musician Ray J. It was leaked online, and Kim filed a lawsuit against Vivid Entertainment, who distributed the film as Kim K Superstar. She later dropped the lawsuit and settled for $5 million instead. The video is still everywhere online though, so it's not really a secret anymore. However, some people say that this leaked video is the entire reason that Kim Kardashian, and by extension the rest of her family, achieved the global fame they have today. What do you guys think of this? Next up at number 2, we have India and China. In August 2017, a video was leaked online of a fight between Chinese and Indian soldiers at the border of the two countries. Both governments were trying desperately to downplay the incident, but it was too late. The video went viral on Twitter, later. It showed the soldiers pushing and kicking each other and even throwing stones. It's lucky that this didn't involve guns, otherwise who knows, it could have escalated into armed conflict between these two up-and-coming superpowers. And finally, number 1, we have collateral murder. This video was leaked by WikiLeaks showing 15 civilians, including 2 journalists, being shot dead by a US Army Apache helicopter gunman in the Middle East. The US military refused to discipline the helicopter crew, saying there were insurgents in the area and they weren't able to discern if the people were carrying cameras or weapons. Turns out it was cameras. In the leaked video, you can hear the helicopter crew laughing at the dead and telling each other to light them up and keep shooting. It was one of the biggest WikiLeaks related scandals at that time.
Starting off this countdown, we have the pollen. Who here is allergic to pollen and gets really bad allergies? If you do, this video is going to be a nightmare to you. Take a look at how much pollen comes off of this tree as it's being cut down. That is a lot of pollen. It almost looks fake because of how it leaves the tree. Now, imagine living in one of the houses near that tree. Rest in peace to you. My face would be swollen for days. Next time when someone doesn't understand seasonal allergies, just show them this video. Moving on to number 9, we have the witch. In 2006 in Mexico, a strange object was seen flying in the sky. As a result, a couple of bystanders decided to film this weird object. The people you're about to hear in the video are talking about a balloon. That's what they think that they're seeing. But see for yourself. So that is definitely not a balloon. Look at its shape. Upon closer inspection, a number of people believe that this object was in fact a witch on her broomstick. I'll let you decide what you think it is. Maybe it's just garbage floating in the wind, or maybe it's something much darker. Moving on to number 8, we have the hologram. In November of last year, a video went viral as it shows what appears to be Pope Francis vanishing into thin air on live TV. Basically, the Pope stepped to his window to honor the victims of COVID and acknowledge the frontline workers. The clip shows him going to his window, and as he's walking away, he disappears into thin air. This led people to believe that he's a hologram, like he straight up just glitched in real life. In our 7th spot, we have the polluted water sources. In December of 2011, the Jiang River in China turned a deep red color and it frightened the locals. Turns out that the water turned this color from 2 illegal chemical plants dumping their waste into the rain sewer pipes. This is very concerning, primarily because polluted water sources have been linked to a rise in cancer villages. This is the name given to areas where cancer rates are high among people due to the polluted waters. What's scary is that these factories would have continued dumping their waste illegally had they not been caught. Hundreds, even thousands of manufacturers worldwide might be doing the same as well, and slowly poisoning us. Coming in at number 6, we have the doll. I don't know about you, but dolls creep me out. Barbies are fine, Polly Pockets are chill, but Raggedy Ann dolls or porcelain dolls, no, I don't mess with those. Anyways, why am I talking about dolls? Well, in this next video, a girl is playing with her Barbie dolls as her dad films. And then, things take an unexpected turn, literally, when one of the dolls' heads turns. Check it out.
Sara, vem comer!
Tá bom!
Now, I don't know if this is fake or real, but either way, it's pretty creepy. Like, the doll literally whips its head towards the girl. If I was her, I'd sleep with one eye open because it looks like Barbie is coming for her. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the doll in the wall. Yay, more creepy dolls. I'm telling you, they are no good. So in September of last year, a new homeowner, Jonathan Lewis, decided to break down this area under the stairs that had been boarded up. But as soon as he did so, he immediately regretted it. In that boarded up area, he found a creepy old rag doll clutching a note. The note sent shivers down his spine. The note read, and I quote, "Dear reader / new homeowner, thank you for freeing me. My name is Emily. My original owners lived in this house in 1961. I didn't like them, so they had to go. All they did was sing and be merry. It was sickening. Stabbing was my choice of death for them, so I hope you have knives. Hope you sleep well." Wow, what a nice home-warming message. Time to lock that doll back up where it came from, or move out, or both. In our fourth spot today, we have the Skinwalker. A Skinwalker is said to be this witch or demon that can turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. Well, the individual that recorded this video believes that they captured a Skinwalker slides back into the sea. Take a look.
It's a seal, man. What is that? Oh my god! What is that? Did you just tell me you got that?
The thing that is creeping everyone out is the fact that it turned its head to look at the men. Also, its tail does not resemble that of a seal. One commenter on the video claims that this video is real. She said, and I quote, "The way this mermaid looks, petite with dark hair and a dark tail, is exactly the way the Scots described a mer creature they found on shore back in 1830. So maybe mermaids are indeed real, and this is evidence of them. And in our number one spot today, we have Frida Sofia. This is one of the most creepiest cases I have ever heard of. In 2017, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake hit Mexico City, causing a school to collapse. Rescuers were quickly on the scene trying to free people from the rubble. As one officer was searching for lost victims, he encountered a trapped 12-year-old girl. She was found by using a thermal scanner. When rescuers made contact with her, she said her name was Frida Sofia. From there, the team was dedicated to saving her. Here's the thing. She never existed, yet a number of rescuers actually spoke to her and saw her hand wiggling under the rubble. Her name, however, was not in the school's roll book. Originally, a Navy officer told the news that there was a girl trapped there that they were trying to rescue. But then the Navy backtracked and said that all the missing people were accounted for. So who is this Frida Sofia girl that people were talking to? It's thought that maybe she was a ghost. The scariest part? In a TV interview, a ghostly girl can be seen at the site of the incident. This has led people to believe that this is the ghost of Frida Sofia. Starting off this countdown, we have the retired tires. Automobile tires are one of the top polluters in the US, and the problem keeps getting worse and worse. Every year, automobiles produce 246 million waste tires in the US alone. Imagine how many more millions of tires are thrown out globally. It's quite shocking. These tires then end up polluting our lakes, streams, streets, and soil. This photo shows you a dumping ground in Nevada. This area used to be a recreational play area until 2006, when it became a dumping ground. Not just for tires though, but for other items that people no longer needed. It's very sad. This photo shows the harsh reality of the world. We're literally killing it slowly but surely. Moving on, at number 9, we have the bread staircase. Now, this is the definition of a cursed image. I have many questions here. The first one is why. The second, why. And third, why? Who thought to do this? Like, hey, let's take our bread and line the stairs with them. Like, why would you do such a thing? And what is its purpose? And please tell me that they threw the bread out after this image was taken. Imagine eating a sandwich in which someone's crusty, dusty toes were all over. Gross. Moving on to number 8, we have the blue lava. Now, honestly, this is really beautiful. Although it's scorching hot, I just want to touch it. Like, it looks mesmerizing. So the lava appears to be blue due to the combustion of sulfuric gases. These photos are taken from Kawah Ijen, Indonesia. So when sulfur burns, it produces a neon blue flame. Sulfur burns when it comes into contact with hot air temperatures above 360 degrees Celsius, which is 680 degrees Fahrenheit. At this place, there are really high quantities of sulfuric gas. Mixed with the high pressure and temperatures from the lava, it emits a blue color. For the lava to turn truly blue, it would require temperatures of at least 6,000 degrees Celsius, which is over 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's extremely hot. Moving on, at number 7, we have the hidden meaning. So let's take a moment and go back in time when we were children, okay? Did your parents used to sing you nursery rhymes? If you answered yes, then what about the This Little Piggy song? You know, where, your toes are grabbed and pinched and you say like, this little piggy went to a market, this little piggy stayed home, this little piggy had roast beef, and this little piggy had none, and the other one went wee all the way home. You get it, okay? Whatever. Well, when we say this little piggy went to the market, aka our big toe, aka the biggest and plumpiest toe, they don't mean that this piggy went grocery shopping. No, honey, they went to a butcher. They got chopped up and then served at the market. How dark is that? Also, the whole this little piggy is eating roast beef thing, that freaks me out. Like, a pig eating a cow? That's not normal. Moving on to number 6, we have the Headless Teletubbies. Never did I ever think I would see a photo of the Teletubbies cast without their heads on. There's something very disturbing about this. Also, hit that thumbs up button if you remember the show. If you don't, then I feel really old. But yeah, this definitely is a photo that we were not meant to see. It just ruins the magic of the show. Also, was anyone else afraid of the Teletubbies when they were kids, or was it just me? Like, Poe, he's evil. I'm telling you. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the X-ray. Now, who here loves dogs? I am absolutely a huge dog lover. But this is weird even to me. This is an X-ray image of a pregnant dog, but a lot of people commented on it saying that it looks like the dog is infested with parasites, and now I can't see past that. That's what it looks like, it does. Others said that it looks like the aliens are inside of them from the film Aliens. Like I said, I love dogs and all, but I did not need to see this, okay? It's a little unsettling to see. Coming in at number 4, we have the Hardhitting Truth. Here is a screenshot from a post that's going to change your life. First off, we have never seen our own face. We see ourselves from reflections and pictures, but we obviously never have seen our face, like, face to face. Isn't that trippy? Like, I never thought of that before. Moving on, something is always touching you. It's true, even if you strip naked, okay? The ground is always going to be touching you. Unless you somehow find a way to just hover in the air. But even then, the wind will be touching you, and gravity, if that counts, you know? Next point, you can always see your nose. Now, you're staring at the screen right now watching this video. Now you're about to realize that your nose is always in your sight line. Moving on, your tongue never sits comfortably in your mouth. Okay? Move your awareness to your tongue. What's it doing right now? Chances are it's touching the roof of your mouth. Then we have the fact that you will never feel something exactly the same way someone else does. Hey, even our taste buds are different, so something to me could taste slightly different to you. Plus, everyone perceives things differently, even emotions. We all can love and be in love, but we all feel it differently. And lastly, you can't imagine a new color. Have fun living with these facts now. Coming in at number 3, we have the lamprey. Lamprey look like something you would see in your nightmares. It looks like a mix between a snake, an eel, and a leech. They can be anywhere from 5 to 40 inches in length, and they attack fish by sucking the life out of them. So they literally are vampires. Now here is an up-close image of a lamprey's mouth. Have fun swimming in open waters now. How disgusting is this, okay? So lamprey have 11 or 12 rows of teeth that wrap around in their mouth like a ring. Once they latch onto their victim, they use their barbed tongue to pierce the fish and drain it of its blood. They also excrete a blood thinner to prevent blood clotting. I'm telling you, this creature is from hell. Like, look at this thing. No, thank you. Coming in at number 2, we have the sweatshops. Not a lot of people know the severity of fast fashion in sweatshops. In order to make some of the clothes you wear, people are subjected to work in disgusting conditions for less than $1 an hour. Sometimes they are paid about 50 cents or less per article of clothing, and these pieces take hours to create. In fact, 97% of fast fashion is produced overseas in developing countries with poor labor laws and human rights protections, meaning they can pay them next to nothing and treat them like garbage and get away with it. This photo showcases how problematic fast fashion is. They work in dingy, dark, and cramped spaces. What's sad is that most of the workers are very young and exploited. Abuse is also a frequent problem that the workers face. Not only that, but factory fires, accidents, and collapses are sadly common. In 2013, Rana Plaza collapsed, taking the lives of over 1,000 workers. Even if it's not safe for them to work, they are forced to do so anyways. And in our number 1 spot today, we have fast fashion. The fast fashion industry is one of the world's most biggest and dangerous polluters. Pictured here are heaps of clothes polluting waterways. The image on the right is a river in China that is completely polluted by the clothing dyes from a nearby factory. Millions of tons of microplastics and fibers are contaminating the ocean and poisoning sea mammals and us as well. 100 billion items of clothing are produced each year. But guess what? 3 out of 5 fast fashion items end up in a landfill within a year of purchase. Companies are overproducing items and we are overbuying them. And then people just throw them out and they end up in landfills all around the world. These clothes can sit in landfills for 200 years without deteriorating. Not only that, but factories producing our clothing don't discard of their toxic materials or dyes properly. They are just dumped into rivers, polluting them. Fast fashion produces 20% of global wastewater, and 0.6 to 1.7 million tons of microplastic fibers end up in the ocean every year. Not only that, but 1 garbage truck of clothes is burned every second, meaning the soil, water, and air are constantly being polluted.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the reenactment. This photo is extremely unsettling and for a very good reason. If, when you look at this photo, your instincts tell you that the guy in them is creepy, ding ding ding, you're right. This is a photo that features the German serial killer Joachim Kroll. He is known for taking the lives of 14 people, all varying in age, and he is known for also consuming parts of their flesh. This monster was caught in 1976, and he was discovered when police found out that he had clogged the plumbing in his apartment with remains of one of his victims. How gruesome is that? This photo was taken shortly after he was caught and arrested, and what you're seeing is Kroll reenacting one of his crimes for the police. I get goosebumps just thinking about that. I couldn't imagine being there or being the police officer he's on top of. Talk about terrifying. I'm just glad that they caught him and got him off of the street.
Moving on at number 9, we have the Bloodless Heart. So I'm sure all of us know what a human heart looks like, right? I mean, like out of the body. I mean, you should, or else that's kind of concerning. Like, don't you not pay attention in school? Anyways, this photo I'm about to show you is what a human heart looks like, completely drained of blood. And I am absolutely speechless. That is not what I was expecting. And honestly, it looks really pretty. Is that weird for me to say? I don't know. At first I was like, oh, that's a piece of raw chicken. And then I was like, oh, no, it's like quartz or a gemstone or something. No, it's a goddamn human heart. Mind blown. Coming in at number 8, we have the big lighters. So I was today years old when I found out that big lighters are just little lighters with an extended point. This literally feels like a scam. When you buy a bigger lighter, you're hoping to get more use out of it. But no, it's just a regular lighter, meaning it has the same amount of lighter fluid, meaning you're paying more and getting the same. I will say it's more handy because it's easier to use and helps me not burn my little fingies, but still, this feels illegal. Just goes to show that size doesn't matter and don't judge a book by its cover or whatever people say, okay? My whole life is a lie now. Coming in at number 7, we have the turtle's mouth. Turtles are really freaking cute, right? And aside from snapping turtles, they're pretty slow and harmless creatures. I personally think turtles are so cute. But this next image completely changed my mind. So this image is the inside of a turtle's mouth. Yeah, you heard me. I have never seen anything that creepy before. I thought I was looking inside of an alien's mouth or something. But nope. Apparently the spikes help trap food to prevent it from coming out of their mouth. But that's why plastic is so dangerous for turtles. If they eat it and realize they can't digest it, it's hard for them to get rid of it because of these alien spikes. It often gets stuck on the spikes, which is really sad. But anyways, next time you see a turtle and you're like, oh my god, they're so cute and innocent, just remind yourself of the evil that lurks in their mouth. I also apologize for all you turtle lovers out there. Sorry. In our 6th spot, we have the unrecognizable objects. Pretty recently, this photo went viral on the internet. Why? Because it disturbed so many viewers. Take a look at this photo and tell me what you see. That's the thing. It's virtually impossible to identify any of the familiar objects. It's wild and leaves you feeling very unsettled. It's like you know what you're seeing, but your brain just can't comprehend it or put a name on it. According to Dr. Frank McAndrew, a psychology professor, he said, and I quote, "Trying to interpret an ambiguous image like this sparks uncertainty, which can lead to feeling creeped out. When a person is unsure if something could be harmful, it's normal to experience a sense of unease. We also can get creeped out by confusing things that press competing buttons in our brain, making it hard for us to categorize or understand what we are looking at." So, there you go. That's why this image is freaking everyone out. I just wish that the poster would come forward and tell us what the hell we're looking at. Like, what is it? I'm not okay. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Flesh Lego Man. So I ruined turtles for you, now it's time to ruin Lego for you, yay! Now what the actual hell is this? Someone decided to make a flesh Lego man? I am deeply disturbed and I have so many questions. The first one being why, the second one being why, and the third being why. So this was created with the help of special effects makeup artist Frank Ippolito and the team at Tested.com. They decided to dress a man up as this terrifying Lego real-life fleshy man and have him hang out at the San Diego Comic-Con. But honestly, we still don't know why they did this, besides wanting to terrify children and make it so I never sleep again. I honestly think the worst part are its hands. It's got Lego claw hands, but has a freaking nasty fingernail. That's a no from me. Coming in at number 4, we have the doll. In 2018, @CatScottLou on Twitter tweeted a picture of this photo and it quickly spread like wildfire. This is a picture of a doll whose face has been removed and then replaced with another doll's face. And apparently this was the works of her little sister, who a lot of people are now concerned for. Apparently she is obsessed with doing this. She has also done this with stuffed animals as well, which is very concerning. That's some Norman Bates, Buffalo Bill, Ed Gein behavior right there. I'd run if I was her. Next thing you know, she's performing these surgeries on real people. Moving on to number 3, we have Feetloaf. And yes, it's as bad as it sounds. Some deranged person decided to, instead of making a traditional meatloaf, to take the meat and form it into a person's foot. The worst part is the onions for the toenails. Okay, so 10 out of 10 for creativity and the name, negative 100 out of 10 for doing this though. I'm sure when it was cooked though, it changed its shape and didn't look as bad, But this is something I just did not need to see today. In fact, meatloaf is bad enough as is. Making it into feet isn't going to make it more enjoyable to eat. Moving on to number 2, we have the unknown figure. This is one image that I wish I could erase from my mind completely. It features an individual hunched over while on their tippy toes and fingers, wearing this creepy mask. What's even scarier is that I have no clue where this image came from. I tried reverse image searching and just found a lot of blogs/posts talking about it, but no one actually knows who posted it or took it or why. This is the definition of a cursed image. So if any of you know the backstory to this photo, please let me know in the comments below so it can stop cursing my sleep. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Antran. While finding pictures for this video, I stumbled upon this nightmarish one. It features a skinny, creepy robot alongside 2 kids. Obviously, I was curious about learning more in hopes to find the origin of this photo and if the robot went on to kill a number of people, but all that popped up was a creepypasta called Antran. The creepypasta goes as so. According to the narrator of the creepypasta, this photo was taken in the 70s and features their son on the left with their robot Antran, who they adopted into their family. This is also the only remaining image they have of their son. So they found this robot at a garbage dump. Someone had tried to throw him away. I wonder why. But they were amazed, so they took him home. In the end, Antran turns evil, torments the family, and eventually kidnaps the son. Now, of course, this is just a creepypasta, but it's wild how I can't even find the source of this image. A lot of people are in the same boat as me. They have been searching for years to no avail. The image is creepy enough on its own. It's even creepier not knowing the photo's backstory.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have a pile of bones. During the 19th century, bison were hunted so much that they were actually quite close to being extinct, and by the mid-1880s, there were only a few hundred left. Hides were prepared and then shipped off so that they could be made into leather, but usually the bones, or really anything other than the hide, was just left to decay as it wasn't useful to the hunters. The hunting of bison was so widespread and overwhelming that even the US Army sanctioned and endorsed the slaughter of herds of bison. The federal government was promoting it for a variety of reasons, including to lessen a food and material source for the indigenous peoples. The US government was even paying a bounty for each bison skull, and military commanders were ordering troops to kill bison, not for them to eat, but just so that the indigenous couldn't. That story, coupled with the sheer mass amounts of skulls seen in this photo, is exactly what makes it so exceptionally unsettling. These bones would likely be on their way to become fertilizer. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Great Manta. In 1933, a New York silk manufacturer named A.L. Kahn was on a nice little vacation in Florida when he honestly accidentally caught something remarkable. His anchor line, by mistake, caught onto a giant manta ray. After a struggle and several hours, Kahn was able to get this actually enormous fish ashore. This monster was somewhere between 5,000 to 6,000 pounds and was 20 feet and 5 inches in width. For reference, there are other giant manta rays, but they usually grow to be around 13 to 14 feet wide, not 20 and a half. This photo is showing a taxidermy version of the fish which Kahn used to bring around to exhibitions to show off his accidental catch. In an article from the December 10th, 1933 issue of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch's Sunday magazine, Kahn is quoted as saying, quote, "Fishing is a lot of fun when you catch the fish. And sometimes it's fun even when you don't, but when the fish catches you." In our number 8 spot today, we have the swimsuits. This is a photo that comes to us from the 1920s, and it shows just one of the many extremely important jobs that the, quote, beach patrol of the day had. Yes, they went around measuring the length between a woman's knee and the bottom of her swimsuit because God forbid she showed too much leg at the beach. In the 1920s, bathing suits began to become something that went through changes and fads, and of course this evolution to more form-fitting, less material swimwear caused a lot of controversy in the day. There were then strict dress codes implemented at places like resorts and country clubs, and even directors of public beaches had them, thus the beach patrol. There were fines for violations and sometimes even imprisonment. In the Washington Post in 1907, there was a photo of 2 women in bathing suits being escorted by an officer with a caption, quote, "These apologies for skirts endanger the morals of the children. The police must interfere and stop the outrageous proceedings." In most cases, these sorts of rules really only affected the women of the time, and sometimes women were even required to wear stockings under their bathing suits. I'm just saying, with my attitude, I would have not done well in the 1920s. There was even one beach who had a tailor go around and stitch up swimsuits that they felt weren't up to the dress code. In our number 7 spot today, we have the advertisement. This is a photo that comes to us from a time of World War II, and it shows a terrifying ad. The sign reads, "These men didn't take their atabrine," and at first I had absolutely no idea what that was. Turns out atabrine is the first synthetic form of quinine, which was used by the US military to fight malaria in the South Pacific during the war. It is estimated that as many as 2/3 of the troop fell ill with malaria. This sign is said to have been posted outside of a military hospital in New Guinea and was meant to serve as a warning for those who didn't take the medicine, warning that the skulls on top would be the fate that awaited them. Perhaps a little dark, but creative and likely effective nonetheless. At the very least, the ad is quite clear. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Ferris wheel of hate. This is a photo that, honestly, I don't even know what to say about it. It's gross, it's weird, it's upsetting, and it's honestly just so stupid. For a long time this photo went under the radar as the photographer who took it didn't share it with the paper, but when it resurfaced 65 years later, it spread like wildfire, and for a lot different reasons than it would have back then, thankfully, but it also reveals some of those blind spots in history that we have. This photo comes from April of 1926, and it shows some members of the KKK just enjoying a day at an amusement park with many of them on a Ferris wheel. I wish this was one of those times where something went horribly wrong and the whole thing came crashing down, but unfortunately that likely isn't what happened on this day, and now we just have this relic that shows us the insane power and influence that this hate group had during this time. While this photo is very dark, it's an important part of history to remember. Also, before we move on, let's just take a second to talk about how stupid they all look. Like, we gotta wear our little matching outfits to the Ferris wheel. In our number 5 spot today, we have early plastic surgery. This photo, well, rather these two photos side by side, show a man named Walter Yeo, and he was the first person to receive the, at the time advanced, plastic surgery procedure called the skin flap. Sounds disgusting. He received this procedure in 1917, and at the time, since it was so advanced, it was only used for very serious things, like for someone who was wounded in battle, which is exactly what had happened to Walter. He was a soldier in the Battle of Jutland during the First World War. Walter was actually a sailor, and he was manning the guns aboard the HMS Warspite, and while doing this, he sustained facial injuries that included the loss of his upper and lower eyelids. In the end, he needed a couple more operations, but he was even able to return to service for a little while before being medically discharged. After this, he lived his life until he reached the age of 70 years old. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Hindenburg. This is a photo that was taken during what is now known as the Hindenburg disaster. It is commonly known that blimps, or these kinds of floating airships, use helium in them to float through the air, and it's important to note that this helium isn't the choice because it's the only option, but rather it's one of the safest options because it isn't extremely volatile. Because of a US ban on the exportation of helium at the time, i.e. the Helium Control Act of 1925, although the Hindenburg was designed to use helium, because of a lack of it available, on the day of the Hindenburg disaster, the much more flammable hydrogen was used instead. This led to a complete disaster. When the Hindenburg floated off on May 6, 1937, it disastrously caught fire during its flight with 97 people on board. Sadly, due to the fire, there were 35 casualties on board the flight that day. It is an absolutely horrendous situation, but it does teach us all a very valuable lesson. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Falls. This is a photo of Annie Edison Taylor when she was 63 years old in 1901. The barrel she is posing beside is the one that she sealed herself up inside of to then become the first person to survive a trip over Niagara Falls. Why did she do this? Well, for money, of course. Annie was widowed and spent a lot of time bouncing between different jobs, but after having been burned out of her home and losing money that she had invested with a clergyman, she ended up sadly falling on some hard times, and this is what led her to the Falls. The barrel she used was custom made, and it was constructed of oak and iron and padded with a mattress. It wasn't exactly easy to get this whole plan set up, and it ended up being delayed several times, mostly because people were afraid to be a part of this mission that was likely sending Annie to her death, and I truly don't blame them at all. On October 24th, 1901, her 63rd birthday, Annie climbed in the barrel with her heart-shaped pillow and was set adrift. The river currents carried the barrel over the Canadian Horseshoe Falls, and rescuers reached her barrel shortly after. She was alive and escaped with little to no injuries aside from a gash on her head. While her survival is great news, it's important to include what Annie had to say about the entire situation after, which was, quote, "If it was with my dying breath, I would caution anyone against attempting the feat. I would sooner walk up to the mouth of a cannon knowing it was going to blow me to pieces than make another trip over the falls." So, don't try this at home, is what she's saying. In our number 2 spot today, we have War is Hell. This is a photo of a soldier that was taken during the Vietnam War. The soldier has a hand-scribed note on their helmet that reads, quote, "War is hell," and I truly cannot even imagine. In 1954, the US entered the war to support South Vietnam against the regime in North Vietnam, as well as their allies in the South. This war lasted for 2 decades and it claimed more than 3 million lives, mostly those of Vietnamese civilians. There are many powerful, disturbing, and unsettling photos from this war, many of which I would consider too graphic to put here on YouTube. There is something about the brightness of the eyes of the soldier that sits in contrast with the rest of this dark photo that really make it stand out. For a while, the identity of this soldier was left a mystery, but after some years, Fran Chafin Morrison revealed that the soldier was her late husband, Larry Wayne Chaffin. Larry served for a year in the 173rd Brigade, beginning in May 1965, and when this photo was taken, he was just 19 years old. He did end up being discharged from the army and was able to return home to his wife. He sadly ended up passing away at the young age of 39, thought to be because of complications due to the exposure to Agent Orange, but his legacy has lived on. There's an incredible photo of his grandson who looks strikingly similar to his grandfather, holding this exact portrait. In our number 1 spot today, we have the cross. This photo comes to us from 1960 and it shows Martin Luther King Jr. along with his infant son at the time removing a cross that had been burnt on his front lawn. This photo is important and powerful for quite a few reasons. Firstly, it's just a glimpse into what Mr. King would have dealt with every single day for many years. It is clear by his almost nonchalant look that this isn't something new or surprising. It's also important to note, however, that this look isn't one of acceptance or content, or of someone who is unbothered, but instead it's the look of someone who continually chooses to rise above, someone who chooses to remain calm and cool in the face of adversity, the leader of a movement. As a Reddit user, 1945 Best Year put so well, quote, "Here he's a father, a man with a family whose lives are being threatened. He isn't hysterical or obviously afraid, and his towering figure literally rooting out the undesirable foe has been done in any number of war propaganda posters, but he's still sympathetic. He deserves the security of knowing that home will be safe for his children like anybody else."
We're going to start off at number 10 now with the iPhone 8 leak. At the time of recording this video, the iPhone 8 hasn't been released yet, but do you know what has? Videos of them being made. A video from August 2017 was leaked from a factory in Taiwan that appeared to show workers polishing and cleaning the rear shell of the unreleased iPhone 8. If this is all true, it's obviously a pretty bad leak for Apple because, well, the phone isn't out yet currently and they want to keep it hidden until the announcement, but also hundreds of thousands of people have been saying that the factory conditions look pretty poor and the workers resemble slaves. That doesn't look good for Apple either. What do you guys think of this?
In our number 9 spot today, we have the Pioneer's Defense. This photo is known as the Pioneer's Defense, and man does it ever look creepy. This photo comes from 1937 and it was taken by a Russian photographer named Viktor Bulla. This photo takes place in the Leningrad area, which is now known as St. Petersburg, which is the 2nd largest city in Russia. The people in this photo were part of a group that was the 1930s Russian equivalent of our Boy Scouts that was called the Young Pioneers. The masks on their faces leaves a very eerie feeling, and for a fair reason. These people were doing a military preparation drill, which is the reason for the gas masks. This photo was taken during a time when the country was under the dictatorship of Joseph Stalin, and the residents were constantly unsure of what was going to happen. The country was already seeing death, and people were already frightened, happened just a few years before the start of World War II, and those in this photo felt the need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. In our number 8 spot today, we have the net test. This photo comes to us from 1958, and it is quite an interesting one. At a first glance, it looks fun, but then when you catch the expression on the person's face and look a little more into it, it really just leaves you with a ton of questions as to what exactly is going on here. It looks like a guy is going on some sort of a roller coaster ride, but what is actually happening is that a prisoner is being used to test safety nets before they were mass produced. Yeah, not the good time we thought it was. This comes from a time where capital punishment was much more widespread throughout the United States, and those waiting on death row couldn't just sit around waiting for their day to come. I think it's probably best that we made the switch to crash test dummies and that sort of thing, and this photo just remains as an eerie reminder of the less than great choices that were made in the past. In our number 7 spot today, we have a burst of joy. You might be looking at this photo wondering how this extremely joyous photo could hold any dark secrets. Well, this photo won a Pulitzer Prize, and for a good reason. This photo was captured by Slava Vetter on March 17, 1973 at the Travis Air Force Base in California. This photo shows United States Air Force Lieutenant Robert L. Sturm and his family. This was taken as he was being reunited with his family after 5 years of being held as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam. On October 27, 1967, he was leading a flight of F-105s when he was shot down over Hanoi and held captive until March 14, 1973. I can't imagine what this must have been like for his family, because there was a huge chance that he could have not come home at all. The looks on their faces, of course, clearly show that this photo is capturing an exceptionally joyful moment. It's just the story behind this moment that leaves us all with that unsettling feeling. In our number 6 spot today, we have Ghost Boy. This photo is said to have been taken inside of the infamous Amityville Horror House in 1976. It is said that this creepy vintage photo is still one of the most chilling paranormal photos of all time. Yep, that's right, this photo is said to be of a ghost. After the DeFeo killing, the next owner of the house, George Lutz, swore that the house was haunted, and he called in none other than Ed and Lorraine Warren, the most famous paranormal investigators ever. On one night of the investigations, they set up an automatic camera on the second floor of the house, and this photo is said to have been caught then. Some believe that the ghostly face staring back is that of a young John Defoe who lost his life in this house. I'm not 100% sure either way, but what I am sure of is that if this is actually a photo of a ghost and not a real person, that is ridiculously creepy. In our number 5 spot today, we have a UFO report. This is less of a photo and is actually more like a PDF, but I still felt like it applied to today's list. This is a previously classified document from 1963. Although the document still has a ton of information that has been blacked out, the document is the description and report of an unidentified flying object, or a UFO encounter. This is said to have taken place over the desert of Nevada, and the report was written in detail in order to have a written record of the event. This document is said to have been the authentic report from the FBI, which is exactly why some of the details have still been omitted. This might seem like less of a big deal now, as in this day and age we have declassified video footage of similar kinds of encounters, but for 1963 this was huge. As discussions of alien or extraterrestrial life is a big part of our modern day society, this document shows that these things have been on our minds for many, many years now. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Apollo 1 prayer. This photo was originally taken and meant to be a sort of lighthearted prank or joke, but it would later turn out to be a chilling image. This photo shows the Apollo 1 crew jokingly praying over a miniature model of their command module. The 3 men in the photo are Roger Chaffee, Virgil Grissom, and Ed White, and sadly during a test launch on January 27, 1967, they all burned to death. To make this story even worse, prior to the test, the 3 of them had voiced concerns about the amount of flammable material that was on the craft. The fire was determined to have been caused by an electrical fault, and it spread extremely quickly due to combustible nylon material coupled with the high-pressure pure oxygen atmosphere in the cabin. They also were unable to be rescued or escape because the plug door hatch couldn't be opened against the internal pressure of the cabin. Before this test, it was believed that since there was no fuel on the rocket, it would be relatively safe, which is exactly why there wasn't more preparedness in case of emergency. Looking back now, this photo is certainly more mysterious than anyone at the time could have ever imagined. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Hilo Tsunami. This photo comes to us from April 1st, 1946. This is the day when an 8.6 magnitude earthquake hit just off of the coast of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. As we all know, earthquakes can often have after effects, and this one sent shockwaves throughout the Pacific. This led to the formation of an ocean-wide tsunami that had waves reaching up to 13 stories high. This disaster went on to strike Hilo, Hawaii, in what became one of the worst disasters in Hawaiian history. This photo somehow survived the disaster, and it captures the terrifying view someone must have had in their last moments. This photo is especially chilling to view just days after the Tonga volcano eruption occurred. The Earth and these naturally occurring disasters are absolutely terrifying and powerful and unpredictable. In our number 2 spot today, we have the shadows. As most of us know, on August 6th, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. This was devastating to the city, and of course we can understand the implications of this. This photo shows what is called a nuclear shadow, and this is just one that could be seen throughout the city. When the bomb detonated 1,900 feet above the center of the city, the explosion caused temperatures of 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit to spread through everything within 1,600 feet of it. This of course destroyed nearly everything and everyone within a mile of it. The light and heat from the bomb was so powerful that it bleached the exposed surfaces of the city, except as seen here, where an unsuspecting person was shielding the surface with their own body. It is truly such an eerie reminder of the impact that this really had. In our number 1 spot today, we have the crash. This is one of those photos that was just taken in the right place at the right time, but it shows a very scary situation. A man named Jim Meads is said to have taken this photo in 1962. Story goes that a man named Bob Sauray had mentioned to Jim that he was going to fly this plane called the Lightning the following day. Jim took his kids out for a walk that next day and took his camera with him, intending to get a shot of the aircraft as Bob flew it. He wanted to get a photo of his children with the airfield in the background just as the plane was coming in to land. They found the spot, they got all set up, just waiting for the plane to return. Turns out that day Bob didn't fly the plane, and instead the pilot was actually a man named George Aird, who was another test pilot. So George is up in the plane and he realizes that there's trouble. Since I don't know plane language, I'm gonna use this quote from fearoflanding.com, which wrote, quote, "Whilst carrying out a demonstration flight, there was a fire in the aircraft's reheat zone. Unburnt fuel in the rear fuselage had been ignited by a small crack in the jet pipe and had weakened the tailplane actuator anchorage. This weakened the tailplane control system, which failed with the aircraft at 100 feet on final approach. This led to the plane pitching up aggressively as George came in to land. George lost control and he ejected in order to save himself. Luckily, since the nose had pitched up, he had just enough time. The tractor driver in this photo was then 15-year-old Mike Sutterby, who had spent that summer working on this airfield. He wasn't actually posing, he was telling Jim to move since he wasn't supposed to be there, before turning to look at what was happening behind him. This is all what led to this photo being snapped and this story surviving all of these years. In the end, George was okay, aside from some minor injuries, and while Jim didn't get the photo he set out for that day, he still got quite an interesting one.